There's 2 best-of-5s left to go tonight before we crown our champion of the Stage 2 Quake Pro League finals. For now, though, let's delve straight into this best-of-5. Opening it up with a man that's just taken victory. Of course, it's Base. Mr. Karate, let's see what smooth moves he can bust out tonight as he's facing off versus Raisy. Raisy knocked down into the lower bracket after being manhandled by Rafa. Returns now to see if he can have a rematch in our grand final. First of all, he's got to overcome the might of Base. He's on a bit of a tear currently. He's already knocked out his teammate in Venga. Can he do the same to Raisy?
100%. I mean, you're the person who said this is the dark horse of the competition.
Everyone laughed at me. No one believed me.
That's just your suit, bro. Don't worry.
Oh, how dare you, Dan.
Clearly a prophet. But no, I mean, he is someone we look to in QPL, and he's always a name we cite as an underdog, but always a name we cite to say he can make an upset. And he's been bringing it now on LAN. He hasn't had a performance this good in Quake Champions. And as you say, he's on a roll. But he is up against Raisy, who, whilst he didn't put his best performance, he's still Raisy.
Yeah, and historically, all odds are favoring Raisy as well. Raisy beat him back at QuakeCon, Raisy beat him in Stage 1, Raisy beat him in Stage 2 as far as I'm aware, so basically all of their recent matchups have gone entirely Raisy's way.
Yeah, no, I do agree. When you look at it for what it is, normally, before this tournament, we would always be going, you know, this makes sense, it's Raisy's going to come in, just straight out the gate, he's the top dog out of the 2. However, it's purely based on this performance that I'm intrigued by what Base has been doing. He's taken his best LAN placement already in Quake Champions at this event, Dan. Can he push for more?
I think so. His play seems to have developed. His aim is a lot more consistent this event. He's always been solid, but it does feel like he bullied Venga in certain encounters. And Venga is someone I would have thought would have been able to bully Base around the map, and that didn't happen.
Talking of bullying, earlier on we saw a lot of bullying coming out from the picks that were coming through from Raisy. Let's see what he's been able to sneak into the mix tonight. Hopefully no more clutches.
No, and one of the features of the Rafa game, which is why I'm not too concerned for Raisy, is he essentially got outdrafted. It's not something you see an awful lot in Quake Champions, but he definitely got outdrafted. Nevertheless, Base, fearing the clutch, does ban it away.
Yeah, clever decision, no doubt. Raisy is deadly with the robot, as we've seen time and time again. The only person so far that has managed to do anything against it was Rafa earlier on. But on the second map, Veil of Nap, we're going to see Raisy again going with one of the heavier champions, running Sorlag up against Keel. So we've got heavy versus heavy. That's going to be a lot of brawling, a lot of projectiles being thrown at one another.
Yeah, overall, the picks, I think, are more balanced for Raisy. We see Veil Base bringing out the Keel, but the Raisy pick is Sorlag, which is a much more offensive champion than just Galena, which was picked in the previous map. So there's no distinctive matchups now. We see Bloodrun as well. There's a Visor versus a Doom, so no real clear differentials in speed or stack. Raisy's managed to even that out a little bit more. Awoken is the one question mark for me, because I do favour Strog on that map a little bit more to Anarchy, but once again, if you can play Anarchy to his full potential, it's still a very, very strong champion in this meta.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and Anarchy is a very common and popular pick on Awoken, so it stands to reason that Raisy would go with that one as well. And then for our final map, if we get to that point, the decider of this best of 5 will be Blood Covenant, and we're going to see Base whip out the Death Knight on Blood Covenant. I don't think I've ever seen DK picked on this map before.
Yeah, that's the one map I would say it's kind of average as hell on. I don't know. I mean, we did have a Death Knight earlier, and we didn't have a Death Knight earlier, so
the Mirage Death Knight.
You never know. It might be a mistake, but let's assuming it's not, and I doubt it is. I don't know why he's picked that when Scalebearer's in the pool, and I think that might be a better pick. Been told it is correct, so ignore me, everybody. I'm the one that's wrong. We'll see what he has. He's clearly got a plan, otherwise he would be picking it. Otherwise, Ison, again, it's not an amazingly strong pick on Blood Covenant. No. Neither one of them are, so that's just kind of a nullifier across the board. I don't think it'll get to that stage. I think it should be finished before that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably agree with you there, but I'm going to push you for who's going to take it, Dan, based off that.
Raisy 3-1.
Okay, Flea?
I'm going to go ahead and say Raisy 3-1 as well. Yeah, I think that's a safe bet.
A lot of confidence back on Raisy. I mean, it's understandable.
It's just, I think as Flea rightly described in the very start of this segment, it's more about the progression up to this point.
Yes,
Raisy lost to Rafa, but Rafa looked unbelievable. The picks were so far out of his balance. And for one of those maps, it was incredibly close. Everything up to that point in the tournament, Raisy's shown he is the better player overall. Previous weeks, he's shown the better player overall. And I think his overall skill development and skill ceiling is slightly higher than Base, but Base is, I think the way in which Base plays is he keeps every game close. It's always a tight battle. And if he can get under Raisy's skin, which is a chance, it could be much closer than we say it is.
But of course, last time around we also bet against Base when it came down to Base versus Vancouver. Ketchup and I, we both said, nah, this is gonna be close, but it will be going towards Vancouver, and Base just swept it 2-0. So definitely a dark horse in the tournament. The man's got a lot of skill and makes some surprises happen, no doubt.
Well, let's find out. Base, can he do it? Can he take down another one of the Maestro men? Time will tell. We're about to delve into this. A best of 5. It should be a very tasty affair. History points that Raisy should be the favorite, but Base is trying to change our minds with his performance over the course of the Stage 2 finals. For now, I'll leave it with you two.
Yeah, what I will say against everything is that the way in which Base plays does somewhat mitigate Raisy's style when he wants to go on the aggressive, so do expect it to be close. Nevertheless, Base with the Mega Spawn, meaning Raisy should get that heavy armor, which he does. Base delaying. Raisy definitely not aware of that.
Yep.
We'll see how much that comes into play in our next round of rotations.
Yeah, this could be huge for Base. He's got a lot of information that Raisy doesn't have at this point, and if he can get the upper hand in this first 30 seconds, he's absolutely in a good position to secure a solid rotation of both of the items, and he's already down here setting up towards Heavy. He's a little early, he's got his back unprotected. Doesn't look like Raisy's gonna peek for a rail though. Very quick reaction from Base right there, staying on his tippy toes as he moves over to the Mega.
And this is something that Base does so well, better than most other players, is the emphasis. To hang in a similar sense, the emphasis he places on absolute perfect timing, item rotation, keeping that split. Once again, he does the basics well and makes sure he keeps games tight by playing, obviously, a defensive style, but he has his opportunities through developing his stack just to go aggressive, like we see now, dropping down with that timing. Great rockets coming up, but that rail would have finished Raisy, and it's unfortunately he missed it, and he sneaks away.
Base looking, hoping to catch a glimpse of Raisy. Clearly doesn't have the faintest clue of where his opponent is at. So instead he just goes right back to the basics, the fundamentals, and goes right around to securing himself the item rotation again. Here we go, Raisy's actually going to be moved to drop down first, but damn, what a nice combo. Rocket into the orb. They basically exploded at the exact same time as Raisy goes down for the first time in this matchup.
Yeah, incredible play. As we said, Base does the basics well, but he knows when he can turn on the aggression. He recognizes opportunities, and I think that's one of the things, the features of this event, is that he's taken that more proactively. I think when we've seen him in previous weeks of QPL, sometimes he's not urgent enough if the opportunity arises. He's definitely doing that here in Katowice.
Setting up again for the Heavy. Raisy, has he managed to get a single major item other than the first Heavy when he spawned out there? I don't think so either. He's got a really nice rotation going on right now, trying to set a trap up on his opponent. The Raisy definitely has the better positioning. Is he going to use a totem defensively? He is going to put up that little barrier, and Base will lose out on the Mega. Hang on!
Great play by Base to get it in, but nevertheless, Raisy's done an incredible amount of damage, and Base is going to go down without even doing too much. I loved that positioning from Raisy, and that's one of the most perfect things you can do when you're out of control on Ruins, because it's such a choke point. It's the most common route into the Mega area, and if you're on that offense, you can get out as well. So great play by Raisy. Somehow Base stole it away, but Raisy did a huge amount of damage.
Yeah, very solid play. Raisy realized the moment the orb flew by, he guessed correctly that Base was going to go for the item straight away, positioned himself at such an angle he could do a lot of damage. Raisy right now, is he the one establishing control next?
A little bit. Zoning totem, I like that, but it was not in time as Base was managed to steal away the Mega. Hit a good rail. Raisy's not going to shy away from this, neither one hitting anything just yet, and Base retreats to the Heavy area, but Raisy might look for an exit.
Yeah, Raisy realizing Heavy is out of his reach, doesn't even want to contest for it. Nice little rail though. Base now on the back foot, could very well lose control, but he's got the Mega behind him still. Still waiting to picking it up though. He's delayed that Mega for such a long time. And it looks like he's going to rope all the way around, find himself a different approach onto Heavy, but he sees that Raisy made it there first.
Really nice totem from Raisy, just using it as a backup option in the corner, so Base doesn't knock it out, and he's already used it, so has not got that to regenerate himself as I don't think Base realizes the heavy's been picked up because he's sticking around far too long. A little bit of an overcommittal there from Base that lets Raisy back into this game.
Yeah, I like that Base is not a one-trick pony with the orbs for sure, though, because clearly he could have orbed onto the heavy, but he decided to instead go for the juke and would try to get as much damage on his opponent as possible. Didn't quite get the frag, but still showing that he's not afraid to switch things up a little. Meanwhile, Raisy, after being out of control for a considerable amount of time, has now managed to regain some control of the map.
I like this style from Raisy. He's showing immense respect to Base. Like even just then, pushing into the lightning gun room, he realized that Base didn't have an awful lot of weaponry, but what all Raisy did was whittle him down to a point where he knew he could take this next fight, but the delay on the Mega was enough for Base to do a lot of damage. But that exit rail by Raisy is painful.
That was such an important rail too. If he had missed that shot, Base no doubt would have absolutely pushed him and went in for the finish, but that little 90 damage coming out, and again Raisy landing some excellent shots this matchup. It's the only thing he's been doing. There we go, once again now Base in a really bad spot. He's got the orb. Is he gonna try to get an escape? Throws the orb away, goes for it too. Raisy does finish him off 3-1. And also, we've been talking a whole lot about how defensive of a player Base is, but Raisy can do the exact same thing, and he's done it a whole lot. He just doesn't do it from the very start, but waits until he gets a lead. So we might see a very passive Raisy come out now.
Yeah, he's been pretty passive the whole game, and I think that's an understanding that even in these one-on-one situations, he's always got the better of Base. So he's making sure that he doesn't fall into Base's traps, which is exactly what he did there. That rocket was incredible.
Yeah. And he did some self-damage too. I hit the pillar. Even worse for Wear. And right now, Base trying to mount a comeback. He's still one frag behind. Heavy is about to spawn. Raisy will content himself with just doing a little bit of nail gun damage as he repositions himself at the top side of the map.
He got the timing, which is critical, because at the minute, Base has been doing a pretty impeccable job of separating items, making sure Raisy doesn't get the information he did. He caught him back on the backside. That totem does a little bit of healing damage. I don't think this rail will finish Raisy off. And Base is wary of his own positioning as well, instead favoring to keep his resources and stack up.
Good call from Base. He realizes he's still got plenty of time left to work with, and he doesn't want to be 2 frags on the low again. So instead of chasing down and potentially giving up another frag, he just goes back to the basics, gets himself the Mega, moves around for the heavy, and is now holding position.
I really like that. Did you see Base just looking around to make sure there was no random totems in position? So again, the awareness from Base across all aspects of this matchup so far has been superb to watch, and he's just doing the fundamentals of the duel well.
I mean, Raisy is a bit of an innovator, right? We've seen it earlier as well when he was playing Killson and hiding outside of the map on that tiny little pedestal. Base faking the rocket jump, trying to bait out Raisy to drop down onto heavy. Isn't quite going to work out that way, as Raisy is now still...
It's very early, and I don't know how much of a timing he has on this Mega, because he's not in a good position. He needs to get away. He does do that well. He is hiding down below, but once again, not sure if he's got any timings on any items at this point in time. So information is a good currency for Raisy that he needs to pick up.
Base, I'm liking the fake rocket jumps. It's just not working out for him, though. What he's trying to do is make the noise of a rocket jump so that Raisy thinks Base is moving towards the top of the map, and then he would drop down towards the bottom, and Base would catch him there. So these are some very clever plays coming out from the Russian, but just unable to land it. But there we go, Raisy actually standing on the other side that Base was expecting. He's in a pretty bad spot right now. He's hoping to land some rockets.
Drop down. Yeah, he needs to drop. There's no reason for him to take this fight.
Oh, the orb doesn't even make it. Yeah.
I'm actually... He's a bit annoyed, but I think it's good that he didn't hit that orb, because he would have had his back to Raisy. Raisy would have been right behind him. Assuming Raisy had the rocket launcher, I don't think Base would have survived. So I think that's a blessing in disguise.
I also agree. He definitely should have gone for it. Rockets from Raisy looking strong. There we go. That's a midi, sending him right back down. And the rockets are painful, but Raisy manages to cling on with just 29 points of health remaining.
I think Base would be really frustrated, because he'll blame it on the orb, but ultimately Raisy's aggression in that point was unwarranted, but somehow paid out. And walking into that as well is good information for Base, and Raisy can go in here, but he decides to take the safe route. Raisy playing smarter this game than he did against Rafa.
Yeah, Raisy definitely looking revitalized a little. He's got his eyes on the prize still. And with 1:20 seconds left to go, there we go. That's exactly what he needs to do. Now Base has to run all the way back, try and collect these small resources. Hang on, Raisy not ready to let him off the hook just yet. He's gonna extend this lead by 1 more point. And now the situation is clearly dire for Base. He's got a minute for 3 frags. Catches him nicely with the LG though, but will it be enough? No, it will not.
I understand why he dropped. I think that was quite a risk to drop into base when you've got 3 frag advantage, but making it 4 is almost certainly going to tie up this game. Base has done enough to potentially get a frag kill. If he does, that will be his only lifeline, but he has to find him now.
Yeah, it's that eternal dilemma, right? Even if you have the lead, do you want to take the fight? If you get another frag, you're basically guaranteed to win. Yep. But if you die, then you do put yourself at a considerable amount of risk moving forward. And Raisy, it looks like he's decided that passive is the way to go. Doesn't even want to contest. Just gonna loop right back around and play an evasive game. And at this point, Base is trying one last time, uses the orb to get onto top, but loses track of Raisy, who now just hides things out near the teleporter. This should be a win.
Yep, comfortable in the end, but Base played extremely well. Raisy adapting to that fact. And again, not overcommitting to such a situation, perhaps learning the lessons of his brethren, Revenga, who found overcommittal against Base was often his downfall. And it was a calculated, very smooth game from Raisy this time round.
Yep, the Hungarian getting himself on the board first, 1-0 in this best of 5. Few more maps to go still, to say the least. Base. Do you think Base has got what it takes to reset after this one and maybe change his approach a bit to the next map?
I don't think we ever see a change of approach from Base, and I don't think he needs to. There wasn't any points in the game he got truly outplayed. I felt Raisy's positioning and awareness in and around the major items. He wasn't putting too much emphasis on pressuring Base at the items. It was
exactly.
He knows that Base has a good control. He knows he's got a good split, so he was catching Base in those interim periods before the item setup. And that's where Base needs to get a slightly better awareness on what Raisy was doing in and around the map.
Yeah, and here we get some post-match stats. 65% on the railgun. That's gonna help a lot, especially when you're up against a passive player like Base, because that's the excellent way of keeping his stack on the down low.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what Raisy was prioritizing. He didn't want to take these fights. That's Base's forte. Those choke points, those corridors, that's where Base thrives. Raisy was just sticking out in the open and hitting Base and catching him off guard. Around the light armors, essentially. It was 3 or 4 frags in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely, and he used the ability well too. We saw a lot of those defensive totems come out. I don't think he managed to get overstack once, didn't really go for hiding them around the map, but he used them effectively, right? To just create a barrier between himself and Base, maybe top up on his health a little bit here and there. Yep. Very good place. It
was definitely more tactical all around from Base, a more cultured approach, I should say, because as you're rightly saying, there was 1 or 2 times he put them in corners so he could restack up mid-fight. There was another time he did a zoning totem up in a mega area, so it was more calculated than just trying to cheese it overstack and go outgun his opponent.
Yeah, meanwhile, Base used the orb quite well himself, right? We saw a lot of really clever steals from Base, just pushing through the middle and just snagging that item away underneath Raisy's nose. But on that note, we are jumping into the second map of this series. It will be Veil of Nav, Raisy starting off with that Sorlag.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does here, because obviously he can pick up the pace, he can get a huge stack and go battle, but we've seen the power of Keel on Veil already, and Base is someone who will be using the full potential of that with the positioning and the rockets, so it's going to be very hard to knock him off his perch when he gets set in that fortified upper area.
Yeah. We saw other people like Rafa do a ton of damage with the Keel on this very map, so clearly the two go hand in hand. Raisy has to look for a way around that sudden burst of damage that totems can deliver, and that's so deadly in these small winding hallways and corridors of Corrupted Keep. What am I saying? Veil of Nav.
Raisy is one of the best players, I think, shooting from below. There's so many times I see on this map, and we saw it earlier in Corrupted Keep with the lightning gun, where he just does an incredible amount of damage from below. But here we go, our first engagement as the Keel pushes through that teleporter into the Sorlag spit and is forced to back away. Raisy's up above, raining down rockets, and Base is stuck in that area. Keel can't get out particularly easy apart from the teleporter, and does a great job to use the momentum of the rocket jump to skirt away.
That was a lot of speed for a champion like Keel. You don't usually see him move that fast, and I don't know if Raisy was fully prepared for such a change-up either. There we go. The railgun has once again been one of Raisy's best weapons. Of course, Keel, pretty easy target to hit in the end, but a lot of these angles are anything but simple, as Raisy has now solidly got himself into control of the map.
Taking up a very unusual defensive position here, using that heavy as bait, but Keel not falling for it, instead going over to the Mega. He's very early. He definitely probably needs to get out of it because this is going to be close, but not close enough. Mistiming from base.
Yeah, absolutely shouldn't have been there. Now we're getting another trap base. He's got nothing to work with. I think that's the starting shotgun as Raisy just pelts him with that lightning gun. And again, he's gonna catch him off the spawn. Unfortunately for him, missing the rail. But nevertheless, Raisy's still looking super solid. Heavy's about to spawn the base, at the very least trying to contest, but was it worth it? Sure. Railgun sending Raisy flying right back down. Nothing to do about that.
No, and I like that maneuver. He knew he had base trapped. There was only a rail to his name. If he didn't get railed, base would certainly die, but that's a great rail off the bat. I don't think base even has a rocket launcher, so we have to stick to this mid-range fight. He's trying to push him with the grenades. Not successful. Missed that shot. Raised does a huge amount of damage. Base has to go and cower.
Yeah, Heavy will be up in just a second. I'm liking the use of the acid right there, because obviously Raisy knows that base is low. And another nice little rail right there.
And he's early for the
damage. He's looking for the damage through the grate. Oh no, Mega taken away, and he gets stuck on the door. Great play from base.
Great play. It was fortunate. He was, again, very early. Raisy just didn't do enough. He was like 5-6 health remaining, and then the grenade just flicking Raisy into the air. Meaning the lizard was easy bait for Keel.
Oh, absolutely. She's quite thick herself, and obviously base is going to take some advantage of that. Now he will get himself the heavy as well. Rocket jumping up, kinda. The attempt was there, and the rails are pretty solid from both of these players right now. There we go again. This time we're basically seeing a repeat of what we saw earlier, right? Just an inverted. Yep, this was base just getting pushed away, and Raisy chasing him down. Of course, he's got the speed advantage. Keel, he's got a lot of stack, he's got a lot of damage potential, but he just doesn't have the speed and the mobility that a champion like Sorla can offer.
No, but that's just symptomatic of Raisy's aim when he's on form. His rail has been the standout performance of this tournament so far. Missing one by base caused him his death eventually, despite hitting 2 for the opener.
I also really like how Raisy just takes these positions and just listens without having to hear, right? You saw how he was set up there, but next to those little pillars, waiting, just listening out with the railgun trained on that one door, hoping that, of course, he knows that he's going to hear the item respawn, and if an opponent makes an appearance, he's got an angle just like that. Taking a lot of damage there, though, has to surrender control to base.
Yeah, Raisy realizing there's not enough time for him to steal away that Mega, so has to retreat probably to the hide on this far part of the map, and that is why Keel is pushing as fast as he can, but he doesn't want Raisy to get away. Going down the corridor, Raisy's low, and he's dead.
Not a single one of the spitballs connecting right there. I was expecting at least something to catch on to base, but nope. The Russian looking solid as he's mounting his comeback. He's only 1 frag down with still half a map left to go, so plenty of time, plenty of opportunities to find Raisy again, but the Lizard, she's fast, she just flies by and steals away the heavy.
Poor positioning from base. He wanted to set up a trap, but as you say, when Sorlag is flying as fast as that, you just can't be on the low ground. He's trapped in though in the corner. Can he get away cleanly? Yes, he can, and that's great for base because now he's got the Mega coming up, he's got the heavy coming up. He can really take control of this map for the next 2 or 3 minutes.
It was basically 100% LG right there as Raisy got to drop down. Luckily for him, he is of course Sorla, so he doesn't take damage from the spits, the acid on the map, so it gave him a little bit of extra survivability in that situation, but he still did go down, and now base 3-3.
Super unfortunate there. Made the good call to go aggressive on Sorlag off the spawn when she had no items or armor to her name. But unfortunately, coming from the low ground, Sorlag managed to get back up high, steal away the Mega, and now we're pretty even.
First item to spawn, that's Mega, 5 seconds out. Base perfectly positioned himself between both Heavy and Mega, ready to take whichever one comes available first. He knows that Raisy's down there. Raisy doesn't want to risk it, doesn't stick around for any more damage. Oh,
he went
right underneath his nose. Base, okay, a few steps forward and he was risking the telefrag, but expertly positioned. This is bad for the Russian. He needs to find a health bubble, needs to do it quickly too. Gets a hold of one.
Yeah, he looks a bit annoyed. I think he's missed 3, 4, 5 easy rails now, and that's costing him because he definitely could be in the lead at this point. He's playing exceptionally well, but every time he misses, Raisy is capitalizing on that opportunity, so all credit to Raisy as well.
And because there's been so many of these messy fights, there's next to 0 resources available for him. You saw him looking around, the armor wasn't there, the 2 health bubbles, the other one, nothing was around.
Exactly.
Now all he's got to work with is 100 points of health.
We talk about how players on this map in particular, particularly with Kiel, just love to dominate that high area between the Mega and the Heavy, but neither one has had a clean enough run in this map so far where they can take that sort of fortification.
Still 3-3. Now Raisy is the one in control. He's trying to sit around the Heavy. He manages to pick up the item too.
He's basically done a good job about keeping out of sight here. Picked himself up a full stack of armor.
Absolutely. Raisy though doing a little tickle with the shaft from behind right there. As base is set up. Middle of the map. There comes Raisy. That's an angry lizard flying at you. Heavy is about to spawn. This will be the next major item that both of these players want to get their hands on. Base, he's desperate to get back into control, and this could be his ticket to do it. Heavy, it spawned. Raisy is still around, though. We'll just pick it up. Oh, there we go. Even a rocket jump doesn't quite make it. I don't know if he changed his mind at the last second or just completely messed it up. LG on LG. Base is the weak run of the two, but he's got the item to his back. Raisy needs to land the shot. The tribal leaves him at 16 points of health. Basie gets out, but he's low. He's weak. Raisy doesn't know that he's there at all. That would have been such an easy frag for Raisy, but he doesn't find it.
Yeah, Basie's doing a great job of sneaking away, but Raisy, knowing where he is, could push in, but the rail, once again, crucial moment, stopping the momentum and forcing Raisy to reconsider.
Such a clever play from Base. He should have been dead like 2 minutes ago, Dan. But somehow he's still keeping himself alive, and more so, he's doing damage to Raisy too.
Yeah. Well, Base is living on the edge because one frag at this point, Raisy could just run away with it, but again, catching Raisy off guard, which is great.
That rocket a little less perfect, but that trap though, straight ahead. Bam! He does it! That is
relief from Base.
That's a masterclass of out-of-control Veil. You couldn't have done that any better. Look at the smile on Base's face. He knows that he just did something wonderful. Raisy right off the bat, though, again with the aggression. Base waiting at the exit. Mega's up. Both players know this. There we go. Raisy's gonna push through and catches him even before he gets to it. Perfectly timed by the Hungarian.
Oh no, and he's caught him off the spawn. This is dreadful for Base, but somehow Base comes away with the kill. Those grenades, I think he hit all of them.
Dreadful for who?
Yeah, I'm gonna...
Absolute destruction from Base, but Raisy again, he knows he's almost out of time. He needs to get a frag and he wants to do it soon. Doesn't want to risk having to raise hell and chase down his opponent at the very end.
Backs off to take up the items. I think he was more than stacked enough to even up the game, but he's confident enough in his ability to bring it back with only 30 seconds to go. I'm sure he must know where Base is hiding. But the question is, can he get to him in time and can he do it safely?
This is risky. He's gonna rocket jump up. The defensive LG coming out, Base down to 40 points of health, but there's some resources around. But that's at 15 seconds.
It is so slow. The Sorlag is not. She's charging at him. She's quick and she will kill him.
Yeah, Raisy is not going to regret leaving his opponent alive. Earlier, nice little rail too. He's gotta keep up applying the pressure though. I think he heard Base maneuver through those doors. Here we go, Base is waiting. There's no pineapples that are connecting.
Base is in trouble because if Raisy wanted, he could have picked up that Mega, but he doesn't. He decides to go around and rail him from behind, picking up that Heavy in the process.
Wait, is this going to be a misplay? No, perfectly done from Raisy. He can find Base. The LG is strong, but he had the bigger stack right there. That almost seemed like it was going to be a misplay. If Base had gone for Mega, that could have turned out completely different because Raisy was nowhere near it.
Absolutely. It's one of those mind games, right, where Raisy leaves it up, Base is solo. He learned his lesson from the previous experience of trying to go for that Mega, but it was his downfall because Raisy was using it as bait all along. So great play from Basie. I was hugely impressed by Base, actually, as you said, in an out-of-defensive play when Raisy was all over the map, and somehow Base came away with the frag 2 or 3 times in a row. So once again, it's just showing the power of Base's defensive performance is offsetting the aggression of Raisy. It's just not quite been enough in each one of these maps.
It's been close, though. It could have gone either way. We say that all the time, but this time it absolutely could have. It was tied neck to neck until the very end. Base made some beautiful plays like this LG right here. But Raisy, yeah, the secret to his success, I mean, he was just hitting like a truck. I think that's a really big part of it. Every single engagement, Raisy just had a good track, but look at this one. That was a beautiful frag from Base, the pineapple. I don't even think he was expecting it himself, but it worked out in the end.
Yeah, Base's grenades were pretty much MVP. That and his rail. I was very impressed with his rail, but overall, look at that. 46% lightning gun, 52% rail. On Veil is very impressive. So
No biggie. No biggie, says Raisy.
no, but he didn't run away with it. Like, his saw lag is one of the best, and he had the opportunities to turn up the heat, turn up the tempo, and he tried, and he tried, and he tried, but he was running into the brick wall that is Base.
I think no matter what, Base is proving himself more and more as someone who can also compete at the highest levels on land and not just online. Because yes, he's down 2 maps, but he's put up a very impressive performance and has really shown that his defensive playstyle can work against just about anyone.
Exactly, and it's been as even as it can be. So really hope Base can pull through, and if he takes this one, then it might rattle Raisy a little bit, who might not have expected such a dominant defensive display.
Absolutely not, as we are going to get into our next map pretty quickly as well. Base versus Raisy. I think we've got the Visor going up against the Doomslayer. Obviously, Visor is a champion that Base is more than familiar with. It's one of his favorite picks. I think we see it all the time. But on Blood Run, still a lot of value, even though you don't have that mobility that Doomslayer has.
No, but neither one have as much mobility. Yes, the double jump is a good mechanic, but it hasn't got a huge amount of value. It's still valuable. It's only really around the heavy armor area, but also we do often commentate about how it also distorts in-game fight rockets, because you can double jump around, and it's really hard to predict his movement. But obviously we know how important the piercing sight is, and that's something Raisy needs to consider, because Base is one of the better players at using that effectively.
And that's going to be an issue for Raisy, because he's almost never going to be using the Berserk ability, right? So that means that there's going to be a lot of hourglasses up pretty much all the time that can constantly feed Base to push out over and over again that piercing sight.
Exactly.
And Base has already used it. We're 20 seconds in, and he's already used his first piercing sight. I'm sure many more are going to follow. Raisy looking for a glimpse of his opponent. Doesn't have the armor, he feels like, to really contest. And we're already seeing the beginnings of what might be a very defensive and tactical match.
Yeah, similar start to as Ruins, where Raisy's giving a lot of respect to Base. This is what we expect out of Base, and he's taking the emphasis. Blood Run is obviously a classical map where Base has always put up a strong performance, never traditionally high scoring, and I don't imagine this will be any different. Raisy playing into that as well, appreciating what Base wants to do once again, is playing in the corridors, playing around very strategically in those choke points. So Raisy's got to be careful doing that, particularly as you rightly point out, piercing sight is always a worry.
Absolutely. Now Base, he's got a massive stack right now, but the problem will be finding Raisy. He's about as stacked as they can get, and Raisy, he's content with his current 100-100 stack, holding on to that Berserk, and of course, has to be mindful of that piercing sight. Base is gonna pop it again. Yeah, Raisy absolutely hurt that. You can see the lightning quick reaction, getting himself out of danger's way. Base is not gonna sit around and wait, though. He's gonna jump right in, but the defensive rocket to the face gonna make him think twice. LG on LG. Base is losing the matchup, and that's the power of the double jump. Not only does he get himself heavy, but he lands a beautiful shot that Elderrise never would have an angle on.
But that's the catch-22 of relying on piercing sight a little bit, right? Where you know where your opponent is. He probably was semi-aware that Raisy heard it, but Raisy was more than ready for that aggressive push by Base, and it cost Base dearly.
Base now down below towards the Mega. Raisy, solid top control. And already one frag behind, and we know, we've been talking a lot about Base's defensive play, but as I said earlier, Raisy is known for being able to flip that switch just like that and do the exact same, if not worse. Up goes Base, and down he dies in the blood pool. Raisy, 2 frags of a lead. I would absolutely not put it past him to finish this 2-0 by now just playing defensively.
No, Raisy's priority is just to keep control of those items. He's managed to catch Base off guard here. That's a very unusual move by Base.
Yeah, wow. Oh, nice little rail though, but...
Oh, what a double jump.
Nice.
What a double jump. Realizing that was the only angle that Base couldn't hit. If Base got down, he's going to take a lot of damage. He will get through. Raisy just about switched when he dropped, so instead of a rail, he took about half of the damage through Lightning Gun. Managed to get away relatively cleanly, but there's no weapons to his name.
Base is really struggling right now as Raisy has got immense control of the major items. Heavy up in about 5 seconds and then 5 more before the mega health spawns. Raisy playing a patient game. He knows he's in the lead. He doesn't have to force any bad fights that might not work for him. Trying to fake out the jump.
Yeah,
going to work?
He knows where Base is, and he tried to fake out the jump to get Base to come around that corner because he knows Base hasn't yet been able to pick up the rocket launcher, should I say. So smart play from Raisy coming out.
Oh yeah, that's definitely important part. You don't see it on that many maps, but Blood Run is definitely one of those where we might see item denials coming through.
Yep.
And that's exactly what Raisy's trying to do. But Base, he did manage to make his way over there. The rockets will now be in the hands of the Russian as well. Mega's about to spawn. Good defensive shot from Base. He's hanging around. LG on LG. Raisy suffering, but still with the Mega infusion to help him out, manages to take down his opponent. Excellent opening rail. Can he find another? He can. Base in trouble.
Very much so. This is turning into a commanding lead already. We're not even 5 minutes into the match. Base needs to try and use the rail more because at this point in time, Raisy's being able to force these mid-range fights that are definitely favoring him, particularly when he's got a much bigger stack. So Base needs to switch up the strategy at this point in time. Nice rail from Raisy, mitigating that entire pickup.
I think Raisy was using Mega as a bait right there,
just
for a moment.
He knows he's got Base on the ropes.
Yeah, trying to keep on applying pressure. Wait, hang on, is he waiting for the small armor as well? Look at that game sense. Raisy even keeping track of when the small armor spawns, and he just uses the nail, not when it's up, but 5 seconds in advance.
He's also heard Base go into that room, and that he knows when the item is, so he was aware that Base is probably going to be sticking around because Base has no idea. Double good rail though, it's not enough just yet.
Making his way onto the Mega right now.
Yeah, once again, Raisy's hoovering up all these small armors. That damage means he can go around, pick up the next one. Base has got nothing to his name.
Heavy's about to spawn. This actually could be very good for Base. If he lands another rail right now, he could be changing control. This is dangerous though. Raisy has got a small stack advantage. This is really not that bad of a fight for Base. Here we go. If he can get the upper hand, Raisy's in trouble. But the rockets, the defensive rockets around the corner will do it. I do stand by what I said though. That was not that bad of an engagement for Base to take. Stacks were pretty much even. He got a slight advantage even. And if he would have gotten that frag, Heavy up first, Mega instantly could have gotten control.
Yeah, for sure. The opening rocket from Base was good, but the push-in was from Raisy because he realized that Base had no armor. So Raisy absolutely knew what stack Base had to work with and was confident in his ability. It was pretty unfortunate that it turned out the way it did for Base though, because you're right, the opening rocket was perfect.
And now things are starting to look more and more grim for our Russian player.
Yeah, I genuinely can't count when the last time Base got a major item was. And Raisy baiting main once again. He's forced into that tunnel. That's like the 3rd or 4th time Base has been caught there. It's just a trap. Never go in there, my friend.
Nice.
Raisy jumps up, finishes him off.
Some beautiful tech right there, doing the nail gun, the plasma jump right up. And taking down Base once again. And this is Base's home base.
Oh, no. I mean, Base needs to do something fairly drastic, otherwise we're going to see a Raisy versus Rafa rematch unless the tides turn hugely within the next minute, because time is ticking away extremely fast. 7 frags on Blood Run, 3 minutes remaining. That is a commanding lead for Raisy. He has no reason to move right now.
Nope, he's just going to sit there. He's comfortable. Slowly but surely regaining his stack so that he's no longer railable in just a second from now. And no doubt that he will eventually make his way through the teleporter.
Base.
Yeah, but he knows that Base
might have a
there we go.
suspicion, yeah. And the piercing sight wasn't up because he used it earlier, so he was able to stick around to regain his full amount of health. And for once, Base has got some major items.
And I love the self-control earlier. Raisy went through the teleporter, looked to the right, saw that the small armor was up right in front of it, didn't even go for it. Stuck with his 100 health and instead looped around because he knew that if he could get the bottom one first and then just come right back around and pick up both in the end. So that was such a clever play from Raisy. There's so many players that would have not been able to do that.
Oh, what a flick
the rails.
Sure, we could have finished him off there. He had the piercing sight as well, so he knows that's down. Raisy feeling more than confident at this point in time. Oh, that double jump's caught base off guard and the shotgun to finish. Great use of that weapon. Good timing from Raisy just to jump on the Mega at the right time.
It's amazing how Raisy is still keeping track of the item timings with everything that is going on. The man's game sense is through the roof.
Yeah, knowing Raisy, it is more now. It's more than just about the victory. It's about not humiliating his opponent, but laying down a mark. If he can take base to an 8-0, because he could quite easily relax now. He's got plenty of frags to work with, but no, that's not Raisy's game. He wants to leave a mark because he's going up against Rafa soon, and so he needs to be in that right mindset to make sure he can redeem himself after the last series of humiliation.
Yeah, I think at this point it's more or less safe to call the GG. There's a minute left on the clock, and it's blood run. With base being on a champion that doesn't have the movement capabilities to chase down someone like Doomslayer, and of course he's 8 frags down, so what can you do?
So let's talk about what changed in this matchup.
Right.
Because for me, this was a very different Raisy to what we saw against Rafa. It's a bit very different. We see a different Raisy every game, but this was, I guess, more cultured, as we said before.
Yeah.
It was calculated and controlled, and it felt like he had really adjusted and respected what base was going to bring.
Absolutely, but the question remains whether he can even bring that to someone that is Rafa, the powerhouse, the professor, Rafa, the meme, right? Rafa being 5 steps ahead of everyone. It does hold true to a certain extent, and no doubt that Rafa is right now watching backstage, taking in exactly what Raisy's doing, listening and watching closely to all of these tiny, subtle changes, and no doubt preparing for his matchup.
What do you think that Raisy needs to change in terms of playing as Rafa next series?
That's a very difficult call to make because Rafa just dismantled him so expertly. I think slow things down a bit more.
Yep.
I think that is probably the biggest thing that he has to do to put a dent in Rafa, because we saw, right, the frags, they got out of control very quickly against Rafa, and there were a lot of high-scoring maps going in the favor of the Americans. So Raisy has absolutely got to present that, and look at that, all serious, eyeing the belt. He wants his name on there, no doubt.
Yeah, nevertheless, good games do come out. Raisy with a commanding performance, showcasing a entirely new skill set. Very patient, very calm. Let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah, let's delve straight in and find out what the main man has to say. Raisy, a lovely Frio over base. He's had a huge tournament run. Are you impressed by how he played against you and over the course of the event?
I'm happy for him.
All right, interesting stuff. Do you feel like it was harder than potentially at 4 or an easy matchup for you?
It was certainly difficult, but I managed to do well, so it worked.
And now you go back in a grand final, a best of 7 versus Rafa. Are you confident? Do you think you can take this and get your name on the belt after Luca?
I'm just glad I get another chance against him.
All right, well, good luck to you. It'll be an amazing final. For now, though, let's go back to the desk and break it down with Dan.
Yeah, I mean, we're all glad he gets another chance to redeem himself, because I'm most excited about to see what Raisy has to change.
Yeah.
Rafa's laid down the gauntlet. He has set the benchmark. For me, it's Raisy that needs to adjust it.
Yeah, absolutely. Rafa knows exactly what he has to do going into this map, but Raisy, he surely has been racking his brain recently trying to figure out what exactly went wrong and how he can adapt to take down the monster that is Rafa.
Yeah, I mean, he played, as he said, it was a very difficult match, and as slow and calculated as it was, that's what he had to do to make the victory come true. Base forced him to adjust his game, and adjust he did. Base played admirably, and I'm sure he's impressed many, many people throughout this event, particularly those that might not have heard of him or seen him on the LAN stage. So all credit to Base, and we hope he can come back stronger in stage 3, but it is Raisy that goes through to that grand final where he comes up against what could be considered now one of his nemesis.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people are out there wondering whether or not we're going to see a repeat of ESL Italy back in 2018. 2018. Very similar scenario. Raisy goes up against Rafa in the upper bracket, loses, drop downs into the losers, makes his way all the way back through the grand finals, resets the bracket, and takes down Rafa, who up until that point had been looking absolutely impenetrable. And so Raisy earned himself the title of the God Slayer. Today's the day that he might be able to live up to that name and show it to the world.
I mean, that's one storyline. We'll see if it comes true. What is impressive is that Rafa has been around the block many times and continues to bring out new tricks, so you can teach an old dog new tricks, whereas Raisy, he's also developing his game. And he will have learned a lot from that previous series, 100%, and I expect a completely different performance to come out. Let's see if he can settle his nerves and do it right.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, Flea, obviously an important storyline that you touched on earlier is the fact that this would be 10 years on Rafa winning another LAN event if he can go undefeated. But that is going to be an incredibly hard task because of the man that has just won here today over base, Raisy. He got 3-0 before when they faced up. This time around, I feel like he's going to go in with a vengeance. It's the grand final matchup. There's going to be a lot riding on this. And as he said, he's just happy to have that chance once again to try and claim the belt.
Yeah, and full credit to him. He deserves to be here. I said that the Rafa game, call it a blip. The rest of the tournament, he's shown us a number of skills across so many areas.
The rest of the season, right?
Oh yeah, exactly, right? And he was one of the people that has been impenetrable. And look at all the big names in the field. And Raisy is once again the player to rise to the top in the big stage. So he fully deserves to be where he is. And he's against a very worthy opponent in Rafa.
Oh, I mean, I think there's a lot of people that have been expecting Rafa to top the lands as well because he's just such a dominant player. He was extremely overpowering in the 2018 season, but now during the Quake Pro League, he's done well overall, but at QuakeCon didn't manage to break into the top 3. Didn't manage to do the same in Stage 1 finals. Now it's all about
a whole different storyline, right? Because now we're here in Poland, Dan, and it's all about the grand final that is going to be coming up after the break. For now, get yourself ready. We're going to be jumping in for a best of 7. Raisy taking on Rafa.